So, Alberta is at a real crossroads, facing a fundamental choice about its future. We're seeing two profoundly different paths being laid out. One path is all about deeper economic ties with the rest of the world. The other is about a complete political break from Canada. So let's break down these two competing visions and what they could really mean for the province, and honestly, for the whole country.
On one side, you've got this massive infrastructure project, a new pipeline to Asia that could totally reshape Alberta's energy future for decades. And on the other side, you have this really determined political movement that believes the province's best and maybe only path forward is to become its own independent nation. You see, these aren't just competing policies. They're two totally different ideas of what Alberta's identity even is and where it fits in the world. All right, here's how we're going to tackle this libel. We'll start by digging into the pipeline project itself. Then we'll explore the arguments for sovereignty and, the huge legal hurdles standing in its way. We'll also look at how this whole debate is playing out politically, and then we'll try to piece it all together to see what might be next. Okay, first up, let's get into the economic vision that's really driving one side of this whole conversation. We're talking about a project that could fundamentally change Canada's place in the global energy game. It's called the Northwest Coast Oil Pipeline. The idea is pretty simple, but honestly, it's audacious. The goal is to create a direct energy highway from Alberta's oil fields to the booming, energy-hungry economies in Asia. For the people backing this, it's a total game changer for Canadian energy exports. And here's the why behind it all. Right now, when it comes to foreign oil exports, pretty much all of Canada's eggs are in one basket, the United States. This pipeline is seen as the key to unlocking new markets, diversifying trade, and really reducing that heavy economic reliance on a single customer.
And don't think for a second this is just some idea on a whiteboard. The Alberta government has already put real money on the table. We're talking $14 million just to get this project off the ground. This initial funding is for all that crucial early stage stuff: engineering, planning, and community talks, all designed to make the project less risky and attract the huge private investment it'll need.
And you can see here, things are moving pretty fast. There's already a critical agreement signed between the federal and provincial governments, calling it a project of national interest. The next big step on the horizon is the formal submission to the Federal Major Projects Office, and that's scheduled for July 2026. All right, now let's completely switch gears, because while one side is focused on building new connections to the world, the other is pushing for a complete break from Canada. This is the push for sovereignty.
At the heart of this independence movement is a deep-seated feeling of economic unfairness, and it's all captured in this one pretty staggering number. The Alberta Prosperity Project, which is a key group pushing for this, claims that since 1960, the province has sent over $650 billion more to Ottawa than it's ever gotten back. To them, that's not just a number. It's proof that the deal with Canada is fundamentally broken.
And based on that grievance, they're painting a picture of a radically different future. I mean, just imagine this. A province with zero income tax, where your purchasing power doubles, and a massive business boom creates prosperity for everyone. It's a really powerful and, for many, an alluring vision. And this isn't just wishful thinking, at least in their view. They believe they have a legal playbook to make this a reality. They point to past Supreme Court rulings about secession and the Federal Clarity Act and argue that all of this gives them the right to separate if a clear majority of Albertans vote yes in a clear referendum. But it's not nearly that simple. The path to independence runs headfirst into a massive legal roadblock, one that's rooted in agreements that are actually older than the province of Alberta itself: First Nations treaty rights. Now, the Alberta Prosperity Project has been very direct on this. They put it right out there, saying myth, First Nations have a veto on Alberta's independence. Fact, First Nations have a voice, not a veto. That's their position, plain and simple. But then, a landmark ruling from the courts directly challenged that idea. The Alberta Court of King's Bench looked at all the laws and came to the exact opposite conclusion, finding that when it comes to the historic number treaties, consent is required. This ruling really strikes at the very heart of the independence movement's legal argument. So, to really get why that court ruling is such a big deal, we have to understand what the number treaties are. You see, these are just old contracts or historical papers. They are sacred nation-to-nation agreements between First Nations and the Crown. And crucially, they have constitutional status, which gives them immense legal power. The court's decision really boiled down to two critical points. First, an independent Alberta can't just step in and say, hey, we're the new treaty partner now, replacing Canada without the consent of the First Nations. And second, Creating a new international border would illegally interfere with the mobility and land use rights that are guaranteed in those very treaties. Of course, this clash of visions isn't just happening in a courtroom. It is a fierce political battle being fought right now, in the legislature, in the media, and, in the court of public opinion.
And one of the central figures in this political fight is Naheed Nenshi, the leader of the official opposition. The popular former mayor of Calgary has really emerged as one of the most prominent and vocal opponents of the whole separation idea. Nenshi's core argument is laser-focused on the economy. He's basically warning that even talking about separation creates this deep uncertainty that scares away business and investment. He's even drawn direct comparisons to the economic chaos we saw from years of sovereignty debates in Quebec and, of course, the fallout from Brexit over in the UK. So, after all that, where does this leave Alberta? Well, the province is staring down two dramatically different futures, and each one has powerful champions, but also each one has some pretty formidable challenges. Let's just break it down. On one side, you have the pipeline to Asia. That's the vision of global trade, and it's backed by both the provincial and federal governments. But it's haunted by past project failures and a really complex regulatory landscape. Then on the other side, you have the vision of an independent Alberta, a dream of self-determination that runs smack into the hard reality of constitutional law and sacred treaty rights. And this brings us right to the ultimate question, doesn't it? Will Alberta's future be defined by its economic ambitions inside Canada? Or will this push for sovereignty force a constitutional crisis? It's really a choice between a new deal or a broken federation, and the answer is going to shape the future of not just the province, but the entire country.